Okay.
All right, guys, welcome in. It's Total Bases. It's day 2 of it's Wednesday. It's October 1st, although yesterday really was October baseball, but we are officially in the month of October. Day 2 of the playoffs, another full slate of Major League Baseball. And because we only have 4 games and we do have a minute as people sort of file in, I want to just bring up like an observation I had from last night, get your guys' take on it, because it goes back to something that we were talking about yesterday a little bit in terms of coaching and trying to handicap a coach in the playoffs. I think that's very important. And so Eric Hosmer follows me on Twitter, which I think is very cool. Neither here nor there. But of course, if you don't know who Eric Hosmer is, 4-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glover, played in the league for over a decade. Believe he won a World Series with the Royals. And the point being made, and I'll start with Bryan and I'll go to Tokyo Brandon on this, is someone tweeted, analytics are a regular season thing. And it looked like he agreed with that. And the reason I bring that up is because yesterday the Yankees went with a lineup that got criticized. And so my question to you, Bryan, and I think this is very important when you're handicapping these games, if you've done something a certain way all season, do you continue to do it that way in the playoffs? Or are you on the side that like, hey, it's the playoffs, we should have our best lineup out there with our best players? And this is, of course, alluding to the fact that the Yankees did not have Jazz or Ben Rice in the lineup. I think it's an interesting discussion. I thought it would be a good way to start the show.
Well, Jazz was slightly hurt, so that was why he wasn't in there.
Yes.
I didn't like the way he treated someone coming up to him to interview him afterwards. He turned his back on the interviewers. That shows you a lot of class. But, yeah, analytics working. If they're working in the regular season, why don't you use them in the playoffs? It's just an extension of the regular season. It's just the games mean more. And there's reasons why you bat lefties against righties for the most part. And those teams are reason why they're here, because they got so much depth. You know, the Phillies have got great depth. A lot of these teams have great depth, but the Yankees don't really do that. Most of the time, the Blue Jays and the Yankees, especially the Blue Jays, just throw out the same lineup every day. You don't find that in most cases in baseball, especially the lesser payroll teams. You take a look at Cleveland, you look at what their lineup is versus lefties and righties, and I was going to speak about one of the teams today. I think they're in a slightly different situation because of the handedness of the starting pitcher. So I don't agree with that. If you're Atlantic, if your advanced stats got you there, you continue to use those to support your team.
Yeah, you should basically go with what got you here, basically. But, you know, I mean, managers are going to do what they're going to do. Maybe some guys were injured. Maybe they needed rest. I don't know. Jazz did enter the game later on. Maybe he wanted to keep Jazz from committing 5 errors. Maybe, who knows? So it could be a number of things. But in any case, they lost the game, and it wasn't because of their lineup. They lost the game because they had bases loaded with no outs and choked 2 times. That's why they lost the game. And they lost the game because Nuke Weaver is a horrible pitcher. And basically that lost the game. Those 2 things lost the game for them. Plain and simple. I don't know why he put Weaver in that situation. Weaver's been choking all season. Williams has been choking all season. He played him too. So those were some questionable decisions in my opinion. But yeah, I don't think the lineup is what lost the game for them. Bases loaded with no outs. That's unforgivable.
I would also throw in the fact that Garrett Crochet was very, very good. I mean, you gotta just tip your cap. He pitched great, and that didn't help their cause. Of course, Tokyo Brandon referred, he did, alluding to the Yankees had a golden opportunity at the end of that game and couldn't get it done. I don't know if I'm kind of on the fence, because on one hand, I do think like, yeah, if you did something one way for 162 games, do you want to go a different way in the playoffs? The second thing is, though, do you leave a guy like Ben Rice on the bench when he's got an 836 OPS? And that's ultimately what kept me off of making a Yankees a client play yesterday. I'm in a group, if you watch End Zone Live on Sundays, where we joke around during the football games and hang out, I'm in a group chat with a bunch of Giants fans. They're also diehard Yankees fans that watch 162 Yankee games a year. Those are my college buddies. They're all from the city. They all go to a lot of Yankee games. And as soon as they started complaining about the lineup, no Ben Rice and stuff like that, I was like, that is an interesting, it's just an interesting conversation. I don't think there's a right answer or a wrong answer, but I just do think it's an interesting way to kick off the show and sort of drive the point home. Like, listen, like we're here to try to make good bets, and this is a sports betting show. And I don't think I think the point that you really have to handicap the manager in the playoffs is just very, very important. Let's go to our first game today, Bryan Leonard. Yesterday, or really all through the last few weeks, I've kind of gone into the playoffs saying, I don't want to really bet against AJ Hinch in the playoffs. He's a guy, I really like how he manages games. And I think if I'm rating out managers in terms of guys I want to bet on, he's up there. He may have won the Tigers that game yesterday. I thought it was a great decision to bunt in that 1-1 game to get the second run in. And I really liked how I felt like he let Skubal go the exact amount he should have, went to his bullpen. Now, you could say that the Guardians squandered an opportunity in the ninth, but you could also say the Tigers did as well. I mean, the Tigers could have easily blown that game open top 9, and they didn't. He's a guy that I like to back in the playoffs. The Tigers get the win yesterday. Guardians now up against it. That's the great thing about these wildcard series. You go from popping bottles, you're in the playoffs, everyone's celebrating. One loss, and now you need back-to-back elimination wins to get to the second round. That's where the Guardians are at. Do they give us a game 3, or do you think the Tigers get it done today?
First of all, I blame the Yankees' loss on the third base coach. They're down by 2 runs. They stopped the guy. The other team's not going to throw the ball to the plate. That run meant nothing. He gets that run, and it's a totally different ball game. And he didn't advance the runners twice in a row, and I thought that was a mistake. But I'm not there. They're getting paid for the job that they're doing. We're getting paid for what we do. When I take a look at the Cleveland game here, and the under for Detroit won for our parlay, my parlay piece. Unfortunately, I had Cleveland plus 144 for my clients. Could have gone either way, but Detroit does have the better manager. I agree. And I do want to point out that lately, since this has been going on, the team that wins the first game tends to sweep the series. So we've got some interesting numbers here if you believe into that theory. But we got Casey Mize going today up against Tanner Bybee. Bybee's about a 125, 126, 7 maybe favorite. 6.5 to the total, slightly over in that regard. Mize has been a guy all season long that, he comes in with a 14-6 record, but his numbers are somewhat pedestrian. 3.87 ERA, 3.69 expected, 1.27 whip. Very good in walk rate, very good with his extension. He's 6'3", but his walk rate is very good. And that's pretty important going against a Cleveland team who does take a lot of pitches. Or the Cleveland side, Tanner Bybee, who's pitching much better now than he had earlier in the season. He's only 12-11 on the year, 4.24 ERA, 3.64 expected. So he's had a little bit of bad luck, 1.23 whip. And for the most part, he's slightly better than an average pitcher's chase rate is only in the 16th percentile. And that's hurt him all year. He can't get somebody to swing out of the swing for worse pitches out of the strike zones, but he does throw 6 different pitches. So from a pitching standpoint, I give Cleveland a very slight edge. I obviously give them the home advantage here, and which puts it where it should be, probably in about the 130 range or so. So I'm not seeing enough to get involved in this one. I tried to look at the Detroit team total under again. There's 3.5 out there right now, but all the rest are 2.5s. I'm not going to play under 2.5, even though it's plus money. These runs mean so much more when the line is only 6.5 in the total. So I'll probably be sitting this one out, rooting for my home team, Guardians, Indians, whatever you want to call them. But it should be a pretty good game. We'll see how it goes. Very similar to yesterday, I would think so.
Guys, go to wagertalk.com and see what we have up. Most of our cappers put free plays up almost every day. Go to wagertalk.com and click the free play page. I have one up right now. And I also have a Major League Baseball play up as well. Listen to the show closely and you'll probably figure out what game I have out, so you won't have to buy my play. So regarding this game, look, I think the Guardians can probably even up the series today. And I say that because they have the much better bullpen, in my opinion, and they also have the much better starter. They have the better starter with the better head-to-head matchups. I have the lineups. I got Cleveland a slight advantage in lineup, but I think it's comparable. It's negligible. It's a negligible difference, but I don't think the bullpen is a negligible difference. I think Cleveland has a huge advantage here, and I like Tanner Bybee's numbers against these batters in his history. Casey Mize has let me down quite a few times this season, and I have a feeling this season or this game, he's in for a letdown as well. I just feel like Cleveland's going to even this up tonight. I like Bybee, I like the bullpen, and I like the Guardians. Matter of fact, I'm going to make that my parlay leg. I'm just going to get out of the way now. Give me the Cleveland team. I'm not going to say their name because it's such a stupid name. Give me the Cleveland team on the money line for my parlay leg. The Washington football team and the Cleveland baseball team are two names that I refuse to say because they're so dumb.
What do you have for Brian? What do you have for a line, Guardians?
126 minus 126.
Right. Yep, that's what I'm seeing as well. So I just want to speak to Brian pointed out, and I think Ralph Michael sent us a good trend. I think you already brought up the it's like home teams that lose the first game. Do you have that in front of you by any chance? I can find it. If it
should be in Slack, I believe.
Yeah. So it's essentially, and I'm not a trends guy. I'm not a trend guy at all. But so what he's saying is since 2020. So 2020 is when we went to these. The 2020 playoffs were a whole different thing. But after that is when we went to these like wild card series type things, which is where you're playing like the best 2 of 3. Wild card teams that lose game 1 at home are 4-8 straight up, and they're 0-4 the last 2 years. And then wild card teams off of a loss at home, which means I think it could mean that would be losing game 2, could also count in that scenario, are 3-9 in their last 12 games. All playoffs, all teams off of a loss in home field that had home field in game 1 are 8-13. I could care less about trends, but I'm gonna talk about this one because I do think there's a sort of way to quantify this a little bit, and it goes back to what I was saying a minute ago. You have a team that just played 162 games. They won, and they just popped bottles, right? They celebrated. We got the goggles out, Brian. We're spraying champagne all over the locker room. We're having a great time, and within 9 innings of baseball, you went from we're the champs to we are now 1 loss away from our season being over. And that's something you used to not really see in the playoffs. Like even the old playoffs with the 3 out of 5, you still had, it was like 2 games. Okay, you're down 0-2. Well, you're going to get a day to take a breath. You're going to get to go back home to play on your home field. It was still more of like a playoff type vibe. Now, I mean, if you lost yesterday and you don't win today, it's done. I mean, you don't even have a chance to, take a breath. It's over. And I think that's why some of these teams that like, especially the home team that has the shock of losing game 1, turns around and can't and ends up losing the next day. I think it's because of that. Because if you're a team like the Guardians yesterday, I mean, even in the 9th inning, you're still feeling pretty good about yourself. I don't know that the Guardians ever thought that they were going to lose that game until they actually did. They're in the 9th. They got a man on 3rd, no outs. Their place is rocking. They probably think they're at least going to tie the game. I think that's what makes it hard for these teams that lose game 1 to sort of come back in game 2. There's no rest. There's no home field switch. you're back out there the next day, and suddenly if you don't win, you're out of here. You're going home. I think you see those teams play tight sometimes. So this is one where I am kind of keeping that in mind, I think, for that reason. As far as this matchup is concerned, you mean to tell me that yesterday's total was 6 with Scooble and Gavin Williams both just dealing, and today it's 6.5 with these two? I mean, I listen, I get that, like, you don't have great you could argue that neither offense is stellar, but Scooble was great yesterday. Gavin Williams had his good stuff. We talked about it on the show. When Gavin Williams is good, he can throw up zeros just like Tariq Scooble can. I don't think Mize or Bybee is good, is someone that just you can sort of bank on throwing up zeros. So for that reason, I like the over here. 6.5 is you can't tell me that shouldn't be more of a, even with the 2-1 final yesterday, there should be more of an adjustment from Williams Scooble to Mize Bybee, in my opinion. So I've got that total off about a run. So I like over 6.5 in this game. Sorry, Brian, were you going to follow up?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, you talked about the Cleveland celebration. Cleveland celebrated twice. They celebrated when they made the playoffs, and they celebrated when they won the division. So yeah. Lots of celebrating in Cleveland, which unfortunately doesn't happen very often. That's a team that lacks championships in a lot of sports. But yeah, I understand that. And I was thinking something very similar regarding the total in this, because Mize and Bybee aren't as good, but you did use a lot of key pitchers in the Cleveland bullpen yesterday, and it will be the second of their back-to-back. Well, if it is the second of their back-to-back, it would likely not be as strong, so that would be another reason to someone like the over here. But as I had mentioned, on yesterday's show, you go back the last few years on this first round, you're seeing final scores of 5, 6, and 7 a lot. So if it was 7, I wouldn't want any part of it. But 6.5, I could slightly agree with you there. I
mean, 6.5 in a lot of cases is 6. You got a tight game, 3-3, and it's a win. So yeah, I think that's. I just think that's not a big enough adjustment for the pitchers, and I think too much of it is putting stock into how yesterday's game played out, which is an outlier when you have Scooble striking out everyone, and what do you have, 14 Ks, 15 strikeouts?
He was great,
and Gavin Williams was great. I don't think that'll get talked about enough. He was really good yesterday as well.
Well, both runs were unearned runs.
Yeah, and you talk about the fine line in these games. I mean, Jackenzie Noel keeps his foot on the bag at first, and it could be a totally different game. So it's a very interesting dynamic. These wild card series are just it's like nothing. We never saw these prior, other than we had a 1-game playoff for a little while, and they're just I think it's just like a totally different handicap than you're going to find the rest of the playoffs once we get in 2 games here, day off. Now we're going back to your place, day off. Like, it's just a very different handicap. And we've got 4. It's going to permeate into all 4 of these games that we're talking about, because there are 4 teams that are now in the spot of we're going to the playoffs, and then 24 hours later, now we lose and our season's over. And the Padres are in that spot today. We're going to the playoffs. We take an early lead. We're up 1-0. Couple home runs later, and suddenly we are 9 innings away from the season being over. So back to you, Brian Leonard, Wrigley Field today. It looks like the Cubs are going to open the game with Andrew Kitteridge and then go elsewhere. This is the counter to not having Cade Horton, who was a tough injury for them. Mm-hmm. The Padres are Dylan Cease, who's been hit or miss, but we know when he's on, he can be pretty good. How are you approaching Cubs Padres this afternoon?
Yeah, Cease Kittredge. Kittredge's about maybe a 113 favorite right now. Total 6.5 to the over 20 or so. I'm not a huge believer in this Padres team, and I haven't been all year. They just don't have. They've got pretty good hitters, but they don't have much depth on the bench. In fact, they bought Campusano and Maldonado back up from AAA, and they are 2 backup catchers. for Freddie Fermin. I don't know why you need two backup catchers at this point, but neither one of them are very good hitters. Maldonado's a terrible hitter. And you got Iglesias, who I like him as an all-around good player, but is he really somebody you want to have in the lineup all the time? And McCoy and Johnson. So they really don't have that ability to bring in guys from the bench that are going to help them later on in the game. And I think that hurts in the lefty-righty situation. When I'm looking at this game, we take a look at Dylan Cease, and as I mentioned many times, I really was expecting a good year from him. He had a 3.47 ERA last year, 1.07 WHIP. This season, back to the 4.55, 1.33 WHIP. And if you take a look at his StatCast page, he's better than a league average, but he's not much better than league average, and that's not what they paid for. When you're looking for Dylan Cease, you need something a little bit better in that regard. And then when you take a look at the Cubs, the Cubs, I mentioned yesterday, they're getting some of their hitters back, and that's been their best part of their team early on in the season. You take a look right now, last 7 days, Michael Busch is the third best hitter in baseball. Suzuki's the second best hitter, and they've got three other guys that are in the top 100. So it's a team that's hitting very well right now and have the ability to hit well. They got Boyd out of there, and like I said, I don't think he'd go more than 5 innings. Didn't even get to that point yesterday. They are going with Kittredge, and they are going to make it a bullpen game, but they do. This is the Imanaga spot in the rotation. If they get to the point where they need innings, they can bring him in. So I think it's a pretty good setup for them today. And what I like about the Cubs is they've got three lefties in the bullpen. Imanaga, if he comes out there, is the fourth. So they can do a lot of mixing and matching here. And as I mentioned yesterday, they do have a lot of veterans on this team. Now, they did use four relievers yesterday, all throw 10 pitchers or more, 10 to 20. But they had the previous 2 days off. So I don't think that's going to make much of a difference. I am going to use the Cubs as my part of the parlay here. Unlike a lot of the others where the team that lost is you're laying a little bit more because of the need to win. We're getting the Cubs here, who I think is a slightly better team playing at home, and they're going against Cease, who struggled all year. So I'm going to go with Kittredge and the Cubs here. And like I said, the line on here is minus 113 or so, 114. Let's go with 114 is the Cubs on this with Kittredge against Cease. And they will use Kittredge as a righty against the top of that lineup. So he may go 2 innings. He may only go 1, but that's one less time somebody else has to go against them. And if they see somebody different every single inning, I think that's an advantage for the Cubs.
Guys, I'm going to go on a rant here, but before I do that, need to mention that Wager Talk allows us, now that football has started, to sell our MLB plays at $9. So it's a great value. They used to be $15 for a 2%, $25 for a 3 or 4%, and now you can get that all for $9, except for 5% plays. So go to wagertalk.com and see what we have. My MLB play up today is already there. And I have a free play up as well. I'm sure these gentlemen will be doing similar. My rant. When I used to be a scout, I had a statistic that I love to keep track of. I called it the wussy index. Are you a wussy or are you a man? But I didn't say wussy. I used a P instead of a W. But are you a man or are you a wussy with a P? So that statistic that I took that I kept track of was what is your percentage of knocking a run in when there's a guy on third base and less than 2 outs? That really shows if you're a good baseball player or not. You have to have intelligence. You have to read the game. You have to know there's 12 ways to score in that situation. 12 ways to score, and you have a 73% chance of scoring in that situation. If you cannot score in that situation at least 70% of the time, 3 out of 4, you are a wussy with a P. You are not a man. And the Padres had that situation in the first 5 innings 3 times and failed to score. That shows me that they are not good baseball players and they are stupid baseball players. It's like an MMA fighter. You can go out there, you can have all of the talent and the skill, but if you just swing like that with no strategy, you're going to lose. Like Brock Lesnar, he's tough, he's huge, but he's not a champion. This is the Padres. This is where we're at. They play stupid baseball. They're uber talented, but they play stupid baseball, and it just annoys me. The Yankees were wussies with a P yesterday too. Bases loaded with no outs. You can't do that. You cannot do that. All you do is ground out, and you get a run. You just can't do that. Cubs had one situation, and they scored in that situation. So that was smart baseball by the Cubs and stupid baseball by the Padres, and that's why they lost the game. End of rant. Regarding this one, Dylan Cease, look at his numbers against these batters, man. 98 at-bats against and a 194 average with a 595 OPS. This is some good stuff here. I'm expecting a low-scoring game in this one because that Cubs bullpen was lights out yesterday. They were awesome. I don't expect a lot of runs here. I don't know if the Padres can win it, but I do think Cease can hold the Cubs down for at least 5 innings here. And the Padres bullpen is pretty good. So I would look for an under in this game, if anything. So rant finished and cap finished.
That was as good as it gets that was an elite promo rant breakdown. Like Johnny Detroit's got to be thrilled about that right now because you got the promo in, you got something that you could easily clip and throw up on different social medias, and then you gave a nice quick breakdown of the game. Steve Duke says "Wussy with a P" is his new garage band name, which is also hysterical. So that was great. As far as this game is concerned, I mean, so here's like the thing we've kind of talked about with Dylan Cease this year. I think Dylan Cease is a little bit of a head case. I feel like he's very hot, cold. You look at his StatCast page, there's a lot to like, but then he has his moments where it kind of goes off the rails a little bit. He puts a couple of guys on. I think he starts to overthink things. He starts to I don't know why he just doesn't trust his stuff, which can be very good. Like, I think he gets in his own head maybe more than any other pitcher in Major League Baseball. Like, this dude is in there. He's thinking way too much. If he just, he's got good stuff. You look at him, he's got he's got 4 or 5 pitches, throws a lot of, fastball slider. His fastball slider on its own is good enough where if he's just out there throwing it, guys are going to have a hard time with it. It's got good movement. He gets swing and miss. His strikeout rate is top 10% in the league, but he will go on these stretches where he can't throw strikes, or he goes, maybe he'll throw 3 balls, then he throws one right over the middle, and then he gets in his own head. It's almost like you can see him out there kicking himself on the mound, and then it turns into a 4-run inning. It's been very frustrating to watch him this year. I'm going to go back to Bryan Leonard for a second. What is our Wrigley Field weather report for today? Because the weather kept me off of the Cubbies yesterday, and in hindsight, I'm a little annoyed about it. What are we looking at for weather today?
Yeah, we're looking at for the Dodgers, the runs are -3%. For the Cleveland, -3%. Wrigley Field, -11% is blowing right in again. And the Yankees, -19% is blowing left to right. All the games are pitchers' battles. Oh. The line tells you that, and the winds are not going to help the situation.
You could have had industrial fans in the outfield in LA last night. It wouldn't have mattered. But the other 3 games all stayed under. And honestly, like, the part of the reason I couldn't get there with the Cubs yesterday was because I knew the wind blowing in and the park playing in that manner should help Nick Pivetta. It also should help Dylan Cease. So that's like, again, I'm not trying to say that your thought process isn't good with the Cubs, but that's a little bit annoying to me because this is a guy, Cease, that doesn't give up a ton of ground balls either. He's more of a fly ball pitcher. And so if the wind was blowing out, I would have really liked the Cubs to win yesterday. If the wind was blowing out, I would have really liked them to win here. But I do think the ballpark factors are a little bit helpful to San Diego and to Dylan Cease, who likes to pitch, will give up fly balls and gets a lot of swing and miss. I really think that the wind blowing out would have hurt him. Now it obviously doesn't. So a very interesting game here. I think the line is and with most of these, I don't think you're going to find like line value. If you're just looking for line value, you're not going to make many bets in postseason, in my opinion, especially on the side. I think you can find good value on totals a lot of times, but the books kind of nail these numbers on the side. I think this is one where I think it's pretty much right on, and I think you could probably talk yourself into either side based on what your handicap is and how confident you are in Dylan Cease. If you think Cease is going to show up, you got to like the Padres. If you think he's going to be the head case that he's been and get himself into trouble and suddenly the Wrigley Field crowd is on him, then you got to like the Cubs. Interesting game. Go ahead, Bryan.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out with Pivetta, he only gave up 3 hits in the game. 2 of them were home runs, and that's with the wind blowing in. So, yeah, those guys that are tendency to give up the fly balls, some of them are still going to go out. But, yeah, that's one of the, you talked about you can go both ways. Well, that's why the line is in this general area it is, same as in the Cleveland game. So, it should be a lot of good ball games today.
We have another. So to transition here, the one game, well, we have 2 games that are tight lines, 2 games where we've got a perceived big favorite. And we're heading to Yankee Stadium where, listen, I'm going to double down on what I said. I still believe what I said yesterday. I still think that the Yankees, from a talent standpoint, have more talent than just about anyone in the American League. Maybe not the Mariners, but this is just a great sort of example of what this wild card series is, and maybe why these teams really want to, go hard to get that 1 or that 2 seed, because right now the Mariners don't have to worry about this. They're home, they're hanging out, and they're going to get a real playoff series where water may find its level a little bit. The Yankees yesterday, Tokyo Brandon talked about, not being able to come through with a guy on third, but the reality is they still had to face Garrett Crochet, who was great. Like, they still had to go out but
they were winning. They were winning.
No, but I understand that. But like, the point is, you still played yourself into a scenario, because they weren't 1 or 2, where they had to beat a Cy Young caliber pitcher. And so even though you could say, oh, well, they should have got the run home, whatever. I mean, it's not exactly like a given that you're just going to like get runs home off of Aroldis Chapman, who's throwing 100 and then throwing a splitter. It's like, yeah, I understand he pitched himself into a little trouble, but that's no guarantee. But the point is, you now take yourself as the Yankees from, okay, we're going to the playoffs. 9 innings later, we're now one game away from elimination. And to me, it's because, like, hey, like, they still had to beat Garrett Crochet. And I still don't think the Red Sox are a very good baseball team. I still think they miss Roman Anthony a ton. But they were able to squeak out a close win behind one of the best pitchers in the game. Now we come to today, and I'll go to Bryan Leonard. Does the pressure catch up with the Yankees, or is this a much better spot for the Yankees now that they don't have to face one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, and also a right-handed pitcher, which is going to allow them to probably put their optimal lineup out here? Yankees, Red Sox. How do you see this one?
Yep, I agree. Bayo against Rodon, the lefty. About a 175 for the Yankees. Total 7.5 to the under, or you can get 7 to the over. So it's 7.25, as our friend Steve Fezzik would say. I'm looking at this game, and this is the lineup that I'm pointing out. I wanted to point out here. When the Red Sox face a lefty, they have to take out of the lineup Yoshida, which is his power ranking on Roster Resources 317. Nathaniel Lowe, his is 113, and Abreu 148. And they replace them with Nick Sogard 446. Nate Eaton comes over from Kansas City. He's never done nothing there, 433. And Rob Refsnyder, who I actually like, but he's ranked at 290. So the Boston lineup is much weaker when they face a right-hander as opposed to a lefty. And Boston's going with Bayo. And when you take a look at Bayo's numbers, 3.35 ERA, but his expected ERA 4.42. He's been extremely lucky this year. And from his StatCast page, his numbers, the only thing he's really good at is ground ball rate, 84th percentile. That's it. But his whiff rate's only in the 13th. His strikeout rate's only in the 16th. throws 5 pitches, and what I like is his four-seamer. They cut back all the way to 15%. That's what Boston has done. I think that's one of the reasons why they're having so much success out of these young guys they've been bringing up. But from Bryan Bello is a guy I usually want to go against, and I think he's a little bit overrated. He didn't deserve that money they gave him, but hey, good for him. Good for him and his agent and his family. Carlos Rodon, 18-9 on the season after a 16-9 season last year. 3.09 ERA, 3.32 expected, 1.05 whip. He's really gotten that whip down this year. It was 1.22 last year, 1.45 the year before. A lot of red on his StatCast page. He's better than a league average pitcher. Doesn't have the great extension, and his walk rate is only 28th percentile, but his whiff rate, 84th percentile, strikeout rate, 74th. I like Carlos Rodon, and he does throw 5 pitches, although this four-seamer, 42% of the time, which is about 1 mile an hour higher than normal lefties at 94.1. I like the Yankees in this game. I just don't want to lay that number. I need to find a different way to play it. Maybe take a look at team totals here. You got Boston at 3.5, under 45 to 48. It's a little bit expensive in that regard, especially with the way that Yankees bullpen is I'm sure TB will point out, continues to underperform with guys that have been all-stars in the past. Very strange season for them. But Rodon, the Yankees are 3.5 to the over 45. That's not a bad situation. As you mentioned, they're going to have their optimum lineup out there. Maybe you play the Yankees team total. If they score 4 runs, you got a winner. That may be something that has some value to me. I'm leaning that way. That's the way I would play this at this point.
Go to wagertalk.com, guys. Our MLB plays are $9 for the rest of the season. Great value. Rant number 2, and I'll make this one extremely short. TV stations, will you please stop putting playoff stats for players up? Making me go online to see what the guy's batting average and OPS is. I don't need to see a .000, .000 in game 1 of the playoffs. Why do you put the playoff stats up? It's so stupid. It's game 1. Of course, they're all batting 0. Stop it. It's dumb.
Valid rant, TB. Valid rant for you right there.
Please.
Valid rant.
Okay, back to the game. I've never been a big believer in Rodon. I've never really liked him, but he has certainly changed my mind this season. Man, he's performed really, really well all season. And he's never a guy that I've really liked that much. Bryan Bello is Bryan Bello. He's not very good. He's okay. He's serviceable, but not great. I think Carlos Rodon should be able to nail down these batters today. And a lot of people in the chat, and you guys are also mentioning it's a steep number. You know what? The Yankees -1 is only -116. It's not that bad. And if they win by 1, you don't lose your money like a run line bet. So I think that's a pretty decent play. But I like Rodon better than Bello. And I also, one bonus today is Nuke Weaver and Bin Laden Williams won't be in there to nuke the game for the Yankees tonight. So you'll get the good bullpen guys tonight. So hopefully they can hammer it down. I like the Yankees in this one.
Well, Yankees -1, really only -116. I agree with you. That's a very good bet.
It was when I checked it.
Even if it's -120, -120 something, that's probably a decent way to look. I think the Yankees are going to blow this open at some point. I think that yesterday, listen, again, I'll go back to the fact, Garrett Crochet, elite left-handed pitcher, that's going to be tough for any team. So all the things I said about the series, all the things I said about the Red Sox being a team I want to fade, feeling like the Yankees were the far better team, ton of talent, thinking that they're the toughest out in the American League. I still believe that. It's just you have to accept the fact that on any day that Garrett Crochet is on, his team's going to have a great chance to win. Any day Tariq Skubal is on, his team's going to have a great chance to win. There's only a couple of guys in the league right now that are that. Crochet is one of them. It is what it is. You can pretty much Paul Skeens, right? Look at what Paul Skeens turns the Pirates into a viable option anytime he steps on the mound. So I'm not really that worried about what the outcome of yesterday's game was because it was Crochet throwing a gem. Hey, Aroldis Chapman threw 24 pitches. Like, even if it came down to Chapman being in this game late, I think the Yankees could get to him. They were very, very close to getting him yesterday. And those were a stressful 24 pitches. I don't know that I would want Chapman back in here necessarily if I'm the Red Sox. That was a stressful 24 pitches, and he was very fortunate, to get out of that game. I also think that game being 3-1 makes it a totally different scenario because they're probably pinch running. They're probably going to score that run from third base if the game is 2-1. The only reason they didn't send him was because why even risk getting a guy that doesn't run all that well thrown out at home? So again, I'm not scared of the Red Sox bullpen here if I'm the Yankees. I don't even think it comes to it. I fully expect this Yankees lineup to get to Bayo. You're going to have a better lineup than you did yesterday. And he's a far worse pitcher. He doesn't strike many guys out. He doesn't get a ton of swing and miss. So, I mean, it would be like, the Bryan Bayo sort of path to victory, keep everything on the ground, get some double play balls, get out of the inning in that fashion. Yeah, could it happen? It could. I'm not saying the Red Sox can't win here. There's no such thing as this is playoff baseball. If the Red Sox come to play, they're going to have just as good of a chance. But I'll be really surprised if Bayo holds down this Yankees offense. On the flip side, though, Rodon could absolutely hold down the Red Sox offense, which, again, I'll go back to the fact is that just does not pack the same punch without Roman Anthony. And yesterday, I mean, really, what did they got a timely hit or two. It's not like they put up big, it's not like they scored a bunch of runs. I'll be surprised if the Sox score more than 2 or 3 today. So if you do get that Yankees team total, or you do get like one crooked number here for the Yankees, I think you're going to be in business with the Yankees. And I also think because the Red Sox have the luxury of having the 1-game lead, that if they fall behind, they're definitely saving Chapman and they're going to set themselves up for game 3. You will not see, if it's a tie game, you're not going to see them burn Chapman here because it would pretty much guarantee that they're not going to be able to use him in game 3. So could they go to Chapman maybe with a 1-run lead late to try to end it? Yes. Do I think it's the end of the world for the Yankees if that happens? No, because they were so close to getting him yesterday. I think they'd have confident at-bats against him again here. So I do think this lines up nicely for the Yankees from a pick the winner standpoint today. To me, this is the clearest cut one of the bunch. And TB, I think you pointed out a very good, that -1 bet is a little cheaper than I expected it to be. So I'll put the money line in our parlay though, because there's no reason to take the -1 in a 3-teamer, sure, especially when you guys took.
Let's just hope the Yankees keep it under 4 errors and they can probably pull this one out.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, TB. If the Yankees lose this game, I strongly believe they probably beat themselves with an error, like like something just
or 4.
Yeah,
put Jazz in there to drop the ball a couple times. Volpe can drop it a couple times.
I don't even think they played that badly yesterday. I really believe that was just
yesterday they didn't.
Being an absolute dog. Like he's just that dude right now. And he got big out after big out. So credit to him, credit to the Red Sox. Doesn't mean they're going to win this series. Doesn't mean they're going to win here. I like the Yankees, and that will be
Can I just make a quick note? Wasn't it so nice to have baseball from morning all the way to night? Wasn't that just nice? For people who like baseball,
are you trying to set up a trig rant here? Because I could do that. I've been saying it all year.
No, I'm just saying. Finally, baseball programming got something right. That was so cool. Not to have the games overlapping. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. They should do that every Friday. Every Friday, they should be doing that. In my opinion, they should have like one standalone day game, the happy hour game, and then all the night games. The Cubs give us that day game
all day.
It should be a Friday. I would like to see the league do it on Fridays. It doesn't hurt the teams. Like, you can play a day game as the first game of a 3-game weekend series a couple times. It's not going to kill you. Okay. And it's going to give us standalone baseball every Friday. I'll lobby for that, but
it was like NFL Sunday-esque, you wake up in the morning, there's a game on. At night before you go to bed, there's a game on. It was just so nice. Although the night game wasn't exactly. But the Dodgers bullpen made it interesting. But as we knew they would.
That'll be the transition. That's where we're going to close this out. The night game again is what you would consider the most lopsided one on the board, Dodgers Reds. I think we nailed this game yesterday right here.
Yep.
In terms of, someone did point, Hunter Green, we kind of talked about that. Russell Deck says, Adam, you were on point that the Dodgers game with the lineup squaring up Hunter Green's four-seamer. I think it goes back to something Brian Leonard has said for a while. This team they've been elite all year. And now that it counts, now that it matters, they're showing their class a little bit. And I think that's what that was last night as they blew out the Reds. So Brian Leonard, do you want to kick us off? Dodgers, Reds? Does this have any chance to go 3 games, or do you see the Dodgers taking care of business tonight?
Before we get to that, and I agree, it was a great day of baseball. Loved it. I do want to point out that they've made a nice discount for people who are looking to get my hockey and our baseball. Right now, the baseball season goes for about $169 through the rest of the season. The hockey season is normally $799, so you're paying, close to $900 for the both of them. You can get them both for $699 right now. Number one in the history of Wager Talk in both Major League Baseball net profit and NHL net profit. Sign up for that now and get all of our baseball through the World Series, all of our hockey through the Stanley Cup, and get it all at a nice savings, $699. And as I said, number one all time in NHL and Major League Baseball profit. It's a great deal. And the hockey season starts less than a week from now. The regular season is right around the corner. Can't wait for that. And when we get to this game, as you pointed out, this is quite a large number here on the Dodgers. And you can understand that. Yamamoto going for the Dodgers. Littell, for some reason, going for the Reds. We'll see what Tito got something up his sleeve in that one. But I was surprised to not see Lodolo or Abbott on the schedule here. But we'll see what happens. We're looking at basically a 260 favorite for the Dodgers and a total of 8. And when you look at the Cincinnati team right now, it really is hard to understand how they can be competitive here. Ton of home runs given up yesterday from a guy who, even in Cincinnati, had not given up many home runs. But we've got a situation with the Reds right now. And let's look at this from the standpoint of Baseball Savant. We're looking at Littell, who came over from Tampa Bay. The Reds wanted him. Does have a lot of fly balls. His ground ball percentage is only in 43rd percentile. Not terrible, but you take a look at his numbers. His whiff rate, 14th percentile. Fastball velocity, 15th. Strikeout rate, 12th. Barrel rate, 21st. Comes in with a 3.81 ERA, 4.48 expected, 1.10 whip. So he's been a little bit lucky to get those numbers. And overall, other than his chase rate and his walk rate, he's below average major league pitcher. Yamamoto is a guy up for the Cy Young. He's not going to get it, but he's probably been the most consistent starter in Major League Baseball. He's only got 12 victories, 2.49 ERA, 2.73 expected, 0.99 whip. Just about everything he has is in the red on his StatCast page. His walk rate's a little high. He's only in the 38th percentile in walk rate, and that's the only thing less than league average. And he's one of those guys that his stuff is so good. If he gets behind, he'll put you on. There's a few guys that do the same thing. Throw 6 different pitches, and I like Yamamoto. But from a hitting standpoint in this game, huge advantage for the Dodgers. The Reds coming in, they did not use Pagan or Santillan yesterday, but they did use Ashcraft and Phillips for over 20 pitches. Overall, their bullpen should be in pretty good shape. But you take a look at their hitters. Friedel's hitting very well. He's in the 33rd rank right now over the last week. And obviously, De La Cruz is trying to snap out of his second half slump. He's in the 58th spot the last 7 days in hitting. But this Dodgers team right now is swinging the bat very well. And they've got a lot of talent on this team. And the top of the order has been terrific as of late. And that's something that you got to take into account here. Yesterday, the first inning was basically the ball game, and you've got Ohtani right now, second-ranked hitter in all of baseball all season long. Mookie Betts 38th, Freeman 29th, and Hernandez 95th, and Andy Pajas 62nd. So there's 5 quality guys in the top 100 in Major League Baseball, all in this lineup. Enrique Hernandez, I believe, was hurt yesterday. I don't think he's going to be playing tonight, but they got plenty of other guys they could put out there. And it's a situation for me that I think the Dodgers are a pretty good bet. I'm not going to lay it with them, but I really don't want any part of Cincinnati here. It's going to be very hard to me to see Cincinnati's pitching staff be able to survive this Dodgers offense right now.
That was a really good promotion, Brian. I'm going to follow that up with my own promotion. I've been number 1 in profit at Wager Talk 3 of the last 4 years, and you can get KBO, Japanese baseball, all half price. You can also get any non-American sport half price, and EuroLeague basketball is coming up. I won my first EuroLeague yesterday, and I have another one up today, along with my MLB play, which is $9. Go to wagertalk.com and see what we all have. A free play is up on the free play page as well. Bryan rarely promotes himself. That was kind of surprising. This was pretty good too. All right. So yes, Bryan is the historical leader in MLB and NHL as well. So we're all good. Regarding this game, everything points the Dodgers' way, but you know what? Those are the kind of games that go the other way sometimes. Yamamoto, his actual stats are better on the road than at home. But that's like saying 2 supermodels. This is the uglier of the 2 supermodels, because his home ERA is like 3.1, which is not bad at all. So I have a feeling the Reds are going to score some runs today. I don't have any data or any logic to back that up. I just have a feeling the Dodgers are one of those teams that are so super talented, but they just let you down sometimes. I don't know if they're going to sweep this. I just don't know. I agree with everything Bryan said. Littell, I don't know why the Reds are starting Littell today. He has bad stats against these Dodgers in his history, a 924 OPS and 31 at-bats against. Yamamoto has great stats, a 517 OPS and a 175 average in a huge sample size. Everything points to the Dodgers, but when that happens, we know what happens sometimes. I'm going to stay away from this because I got like the hair on the back of my neck sticking up here. I got a bad feeling for the Dodgers in this one. I don't know why, though. I have no logic to back it up.
I love that you're doing EuroLeague basketball, Tokyo Brandon. Sometimes, like if I really want to just waste an hour or 2 of my life that I'll never get back, like, and I do this actually like every once in a while, I'll start looking at like EuroLeague rosters because I'm a big college basketball fan, and it's just like the names on the EuroLeague rosters are all guys that I was like, oh, like I remember that dude at Western Kentucky. Oh, he was at Canisius for a little while. Like just the names that pop up that you haven't seen in a while, and then they're on a EuroLeague team is awesome. Yep. So if you're into EuroLeague basketball, which is actually a tremendous watch, like if you just like, it is a great watch. It's essentially soccer in a basketball arena sometimes with the
and it's country against country. Stuff. You got Turkey against Israel, and
you know what? I ended up. So a guy by the name of Ronald Moore had a long career over in Europe, and he was 2 years younger than me at Siena. He was a friend of mine at Siena. He was on that great Siena team that beat Ohio State and went to multiple NCAA tournaments. Long European basketball career. And so I would just, tune into the games when I had a chance. And yeah, I mean, I think he played in all over the place, but he'd be in Serbia. And I mean, there's like flares going off inside. I'm like, this place is going to burn to the ground. This isn't, it's not an open air, this isn't outside like soccer, but yeah, it's very cool. And if you're into that, TV covers it. So check that out.
You get guys like Jimmer Fredette that you haven't heard for 10 years.
Jimmer Fredette, I can't even believe you brought that name up. Jimmer Fredette is from the 518. He's from Glens Falls, New York. I actually lived down the street from his parents for some time, and I went to a lot of his high school basketball games. The Glens Falls Civic Center, now the Cool and Cheering Arena, used to be standing room only, fire hazards. They used to have to move some of his games from the high school over to the arena because so many people wanted to watch him play. Still to this day, one of the best basketball players I've ever seen in person. Was a huge Jimmer Fredette fan. Legend. In the Albany, New York area. Yep. Yeah, we could go on all day. I will throw, since we're doing the promo thing, we got to point out the fact that bases 99, that coupon will get you the rest of the playoffs for any of the three of us. Ralph texted me the list, and I really was under the impression I was number one last year in the playoffs. Apparently, Don Buster must have got me at like the finish line or something, because I look and he was actually number one. So I was number 2, 10-4 in the playoffs last year, 21.92 units, a 71.4% win percentage. I pushed yesterday with Tigers -1, so have not registered an official play, I guess, for this year. But that bases 99 coupon gets you, I'm sorry, Tigers -1. That bases 99 coupon gets you the whole playoffs for any of the three of us at a discounted rate. I know people want to hear me talk about this game. I'm not really, I don't have much to add. That's why I kind of went and rambled on a little right there. To me, this is such a mismatch. I feel like the Dodgers, going back to a lot of what I said yesterday. Now, the one thing that the Reds can do here that would really throw a wrinkle into things is if they decide to go like Littell and then maybe like piggyback him with Lodolo, or I don't really know. They haven't really said exactly what they're going to do with their pitching, but that would be the one thing that I think could maybe confuse the Dodgers a little bit, where it was like Littell once through the order, Abbott once through the order. I don't now they're going to have to leave one of those guys for game 3, so they can't just burn all of them. But the reason I think that that's a possibility here is I do think they would want to. So the Reds have to be looking at this like, how can we? The goal is to win the series. So what I think their best chance to do is, and I think this is probably why Littell is starting. You go Littell once through the order, pray he gets through the order. You take one of your starters and try to have them throw innings like 3 through 7, and then see if you're in the game. You need to save one starter for tomorrow. The problem with the Reds is they don't have much bullpen depth, but the other problem for the Reds is like none of these guys are so good that the Dodgers couldn't put up a 4 spot on them. And I think that's what you saw yesterday with Hunter Green. As good as he's been all year, I mean, this is just an elite Dodgers lineup. And to me, this is just a total mismatch. So could the Reds find a way to maybe stay within a run and cover the +1.5? Yeah, I suppose they could. Could they even find a way to win this game? Yeah, we've seen the Dodgers lose games that they maybe should win. Would I bet on either of those things here? No. I think you see the Dodgers. The Dodgers are focused right now. And that's something that we've kind of talked about on the show quite a bit. The time to bet against the Dodgers was earlier in the year. This team they look like the best team right now. Like if you look at all the teams, the Dodgers to me look like the team to beat. And I just don't think they're messing around right now. I think they're going to put this away. So I would actually, again, this is likely not going to make my client card. I actually think Dodgers -1.5 is a reasonable look here. And I never say that with teams on their home field with home teams that are only going to have 8 at-bats. But I just feel like it goes off the rails at some point. Some point in this game, the Dodgers are going to get a couple of guys on, and it's going to be crooked number, and it's going to be good night for the Reds. That's kind of how I feel about this game. Wolf Eyes Gaming says, Wager Talk should look into making a Discord. We tried that. Years ago, we tried that. It didn't work. No one showed up. So if you can convince management that people will show up in there, I'm sure we would do it. But we did try that one point, and it didn't work.
It was like a Tony Finn autobiography.
Yes, yeah. Tony Finn was the only one in there, and he did post a lot of good stuff, but no one else was in there. So we'll have to see if we can. Who knows? Maybe Discord's more of a thing now. Maybe we'll run that back at some point. All right.
I just wanted to point out that Chase Burns. I wouldn't surprise me if he gets a few innings today. He's their hot shot starter that they put in the bullpen. Pitched 33 pitches on Sunday in their bullpen game, so he's had the last couple of days off. So you might see him out there for a couple innings, and he's very talented. So that may be an advantage for the Reds, those 2 innings, but he's still also very young.
Yeah, it's listen. If you want to bet the Reds today, like I think your rationale behind playing the Reds in any capacity is the fact it's win or go home. They have a couple of different ways they could go, and maybe they can mix it up enough to confuse the Dodgers hitters where it's like Littell for these batters. Okay, now we're going to hit you with Chase Burns, who has great stuff. Then we might go with a lefty. There is some appeal to that, but I'm kind of with someone in the chat, I think it was Steve Duke. I just lost the comment because I was trying to pull up Turnbuckle Tommy's comment. Said, like, it's hard to believe the Dodgers don't put up a crooked number or two at some point. And it's like, do you trust the Reds to be able to counter off Yamamoto to keep it close? I don't think I do. So I think it'd be Dodgers or pass for me. Turnbuckle Tommy says Discord is much bigger now. Listen, send that into customer support. Maybe we'll try it. I don't know. I think it would take a team effort buy-in from all the handicappers, but who knows? It's a good request. But I do know it didn't work the one time we tried to do it, which was like 3 or 4 years ago. So at any rate, we have hit 10 a.m. Once again, perfectly timed out show with the 4 games. Look at that. We have a 3-teamer today that hopefully I don't ruin like I did yesterday. We hit 2 of the 3. TB got there with Dodgers. Bryan Leonard got there with the Tigers under. And unfortunately, the Yankees didn't get the job done. So what am I going to do? Go right back to the Yankees in the parlay today. That's my parlay leg. Tokyo Brandon's going Guardians money line, and Bryan Leonard is going Cubs money line. So really, your entertainment for the day is right there. 3-teamer is going to go Guardians minus 126 for Tokyo Brandon, Cubs minus 113 for Bryan Leonard, Yankees minus 175 for me. Actually pays plus 431. That's actually better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it would be under 4-1. So the fact that that parlay is better than 4-1 odds, I actually think is pretty nice value. And that'll be your 3-teamer today. Does anyone have anything before we sign off? All right.
That's pretty rare.
Well, I know. I know. Well, you got all the rants out already. So like, I figured there was nothing else.
Yeah,
nothing else to say at this point.
Oh, one last comment. I did try the Apple Fireball. I like original better.
Fair.
Has a weird.
Listen, I always get fooled by like the marketing nonsense. Every time like Coke or Dr. Pepper puts out one of these like stupid flavors, I always end up buying it and I end up tossing like 10 of the 12 pack. Like it's just
aftertaste is a little weird for me. I didn't like the aftertaste.
They end up tasting like medicine a little bit. Anytime I try to do something
cough
like
syrup.
that, it's gotta,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that doesn't surprise me one bit. They got you with the marketing. It happens to me all the time. Hopefully we get you with the marketing and you go over to the website and use that basis 99 coupon on someone's picks for the rest of the year. We'll be back in the morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, hopefully with a couple games. Hopefully, like some of these games split and we've got games for tomorrow. But either way, the only way we're not here tomorrow is if all 4 series end, I suppose. So as long as there's one game, we'll be with you in the morning. And let's cash some tickets today. We'll see you in the morning. Have a great day, everyone. And we'll see you tomorrow.